A very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to Primetime News coming to you live from our News 4 studios in Colombo. I'm Arundhati Mudannayak and let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
Venerable Uvathanne Sumanatera serving a life sentence, granted a presidential pardon. Safari drivers who transported Ukrainian tourists placed under quarantine. Residents of Maligawatta protest, demanding for isolation in the area to be lifted. Leopard who terrorized Panama captured. 5 people suspected of attacking the wildlife office arrested. Isolation status in several areas of Colombo and Gampaha lifted. Why did an aerial survey aircraft land at the Bandaranaike International Airport?
And now the stories in detail. A presidential pardon has been granted to Venerable Uvathanne Sumanatera, who was serving a life term in prison. The President Media Division's Director General Mohan Samaranayake said that the decision has been conveyed to the Justice Minister.
Venerable Uvathanne Sumanatera was indicted for the possession of 2 T-56 firearms and 210 live rounds of ammunition. The Thera, who was the chief priest of the Sri Bodhirajarama temple in Maligawatta, had been serving a life sentence after being found guilty of the indictments. Colombo High Court Judge Aditya Pattabendike handed down the sentence. The weapons and ammunition had been recovered on the 2nd of January during a raid carried out by the Police Special Task Force and the Criminal Investigation Department days ahead of the 2010 presidential election.
හන්දට ගෙදර එන්නම් කියලා අපි අපේ ළමයි බලන් ඉන්නවා. උන්ට කන්න බොන්න විදියක් නැහැ. ඒක මොකක්ද කරන්නේ? දැන් මේකට රජයෙන් කවුද වග කියන්නේ? රුපියල් 700 පඩි ගන්න අය ඉන්නේ. රුපියල් 700 පඩි අරගෙන දවස් 14 නිරෝධානය වෙනවා මේක. සුද්ධ ටික රට වටේම ඇවිදිනවා. අපි කොටු කරනවා.
The images you witnessed were of a protest staged by safari jeep drivers at the Yala National Park today. The protest was held against the 14-day quarantine imposed on the drivers who came into contact with Ukrainian tourists.
A team of Ukrainian tourists had visited the Yala National Park last evening. The drivers who had taken the tourists of safari tours have been directed to undergo quarantine.
We undertook the trip since we believed it would be secure due to the government's intervention. We are being directed to undergo quarantine for 2 weeks because we associated with the tourists for 3 hours. We left our homes promising we would return. Our children are waiting for us. They have no means of finding food or water. Who should be responsible for this? The drivers here earn a wage of 700 rupees daily. Large-scale companies are not handling these services. We have been deceived. This problem did not exist in Tissamaharama. This area was safe from the pandemic, but it seems that the government is paving the way for us to be affected. Why are they sending tourists if there is a risk? The government must immediately stop this.
රුපියල් 700 පඩි ගන්න අය ඉන්නේ. රුපියල් 700 පඩි අරගෙන දවස් 14 නිරෝධානය වෙනවා මේක. සුද්ධ ටික රට වටේම ඇවිදිනවා. අපි කොටු කරනවා. ගෙදරින් තාම දන්නේ අපි ගෙදර එන්නේ නැහැ. ඒකට අපිට අඳින්න තියෙන්නේ මේක විතරයි.
එක්ක මේ කට්ටිය මේ දන්නවනම් මේ මෙහෙම දෙයක් වෙනවා කියලා අපි එවන්න නැතුව ඉන්න ඕනේ මේවට.
ඇයි අපි නොමග යවුවේ? ඇයි
Why did they deceive us instead of keeping us informed about the requirements? If we were informed, we would have decided whether to undertake these trips or not. This is a betrayal since we were not informed about this matter until the guests departed.
පිට වෙලා යනකම් අපි දැනුවක් කරේ නැති එක.
The safari jeep drivers were directed to quarantine with the assistance of the security units.
තිස්සමහාරාමයේ හරි ලස්සන තිබුණු ගමක්. යාල කොරෝනා අවදානමක් තිබුණේ නැහැ. ඊයේ වෙනකන්.
Ukrainian tourists are currently touring the country as part of a pilot project. Another batch of 175 Ukrainians landed at the Mattala airport yesterday, while another group is due to arrive in the country tomorrow. The first flight carrying 180 Ukrainian tourists landed at the Mattala airport on the 28th of December last year. While 5 of them had tested positive for COVID-19, the other tourists were allowed to tour the country, citing that they haven't been infected with the virus. The Ukrainian tourists are expected to visit Polonnaruwa and Sigiriya tomorrow. Issuing a statement, the Central Cultural Fund said that the Ukrainian tourists will be allowed to visit archaeological sites in Polonnaruwa that have been approved under the pilot project. Accordingly, the Parakrama Maliga in Polonnaruwa, Dalada Maluwa, the second Shiva Devalaya, the Rankot Vihara at the Alahana Pirivena, Lanka Tilaka Viharaya, Gal Viharaya, Tivanka Image House and the Nilum Pukunam will be out of bounds for local tourists from 1 p.m. tomorrow. The Ukrainian tourists are due to visit the Sigiri tourist zone on Tuesday. Accordingly, the Central Cultural Fund said that the locals will be barred from visiting the area starting from Tuesday morning until noon.
ආරක්ෂා සහිත තිබුණු තිස්ස මහරාම සහ යාල ප්‍රදේශය තුන්වෙනි රැල්ලක් කිසිම
There is suspicion whether they are trying to instigate a third wave of COVID-19 infections by bringing down tourists, especially to the Tissa Maharama and Yal areas that were safe from the virus. All of us, including safari jeep drivers, have been responsibly involved in the tourism industry for a long time. We will not engage in these duties if infected tourists are brought to the Yala National Park carelessly.
යාල ජාතික වනෝද්‍යානයට ඇතුල් වෙනවා නම් අපි මේකෙන් බැහැර වෙන්න කැමතියි.
Meanwhile, convening a media briefing, the Janatha Vimukti Peramuna expressed views on bringing down Ukrainian tourists to the country.
මේ යුක්‍රේන ජාතිකයන් මේ 180 200 කණ්ඩායම් හැටියට ගෙනා ගැනීම හරහා මේකට මේ
It is the pockets of Udayanga Veeratunga that will be filled by bringing down Ukrainians in groups of 180s and 200. It seems that he is the head of these tourist arrivals in the country. They are being transported in a bus owned by a father-in-law of a high-ranking officer of the government. They are being housed at hotels owned by 1 or 2 businessmen who are closely affiliated with the government. That means any income that comes from these tourist arrivals will not flow down. Do we need to risk the country so that Udayanga can earn more money? Who will bear the responsibility if these Ukrainian tourist arrivals create a new wave?
මේ යුක්‍රේන ජාතිකයන් හරහා නව රැල්ලක් නිර්මාණය වුණොත් ඒක වකින් බාරගන්නේ කවුද?
උදයංග වීරතුංගගේ වැඩපිළිවෙල.
It is Udayanga Veeratunga's work plan that is being carried out. Are they carrying out this project as a move to uplift the economy? That is not the case. This will drag the economy further into the doldrums. After that, the authorities should not blame the public for failing to behave responsibly and causing the spread of the virus. What is the official address of Udayanga Veeratunga? It has been mentioned as Temple Trees, Colombo 3. That is the address he has used to register with the tourist authorities. Although they claim that a bio-bubble is in place, that is not the case.
Residents of the National Housing Scheme in Maligawatta staged a protest today demanding authorities to lift the isolation status in the area.
The Maligawatta National Housing Scheme has been placed under isolation for 76 days. Residents in the area took to the streets today demanding the isolation status to be lifted in the area. The protests were staged outside the housing complexes.
දැන් මේක මාස 3ක් තිස්සේ වහලා තියෙනවා. එදා ජීවිතේ ගත කරන්න බෑ. රුපියල් 5000කින් අපිට ඇත්තටම ජීවත් වෙන්න අමාරුයි. සතියක්වත් අමාරුයි. මොකද එක පවුලක 11 දෙනෙක් 12 දෙනෙක් එක ගේක ඉන්නවා. අපිට 5000ක් එපා. අපිට මේක ඇරලා දෙන්න අපි එළියට ගිහලා ජීවත් වෙන්න. මේ බිල් ඔක්කොම එනවා. මේ බිල් එනකොට මේවා ගෙවන්න හැකියාවකුත් තියෙන්න ඕන. 40000 50000 ගෙවන්න මේ පැත්තේ මිනිස්සුන් එච්චර ලොකු බිස්නස් කරන ව්‍යාපාරිකයෝ නැහැ. දැන් මේවා ගෙවන්න හැකියාවක් නැති වුණොත් දවස් 10ක් යනකොට මේක ඇරියෙන් පස්සේ දවස් 10න් කරන්ට් නැහැ අපිට. මේකට කවුද වග කියන්නේ? අඩුත් එපා, සැමනුත් එපා. අපිට පාර ඇරලා දෙන්න. අපි කොහොම අම්බ කරලා කන්නේ වතුර බිල ගෙවන්න ඕනේ, කරන්ට් බිල් ගෙවන්න ඕනේ, කේම කන්න ඕනේ, ළමයට උදේ කේම දවල් කේම රෙඩ් කොහොම මිනිස්සු කන්නේ?
The protesters dispersed after the officer in charge of the Maligawatta police station had pledged to provide a solution to their demands. The Koskote village in the medical division of Pujapiti in Kandy was placed under isolation since this morning. The isolation had been declared after 30 people had tested positive for COVID-19 after PCR tests were conducted on 85 residents. Meanwhile, the health officials have urged residents of Pujapiti to restrict travelling during this period.
Army Commander General Shavendra Silva said that the isolation status imposed in certain areas in the Colombo and Gampaha districts will be lifted from 5 a.m. tomorrow. In the Colombo district, the isolation status in the Modara police jurisdiction, the Alutkade West, Alutkade East Grama Niladari divisions in Keselvatta, the Vanathamulla Grama Niladari division in Borella and the Demalavatta area in Pitakote will be lifted from 5 a.m. tomorrow. In the Gampaha district, the isolation status will be lifted in the Peliagodavatta Grama Niladari division, Megahavatta Grama Niladari division, Rohana Viharamavata in the Pattiya North Grama Niladari division, Nelligahavatta and Puranakotuavatta in the Peliagoda Gangabada Grama Niladari division, and Sri Jayanti Mavata in the Veligoda North Grama-Niladhari division. General Shavendra Silva, who heads the National Operations Centre for the Prevention of COVID-19 outbreaks, said that the isolation status in other areas will continue to be in place until further notice.
Several Sri Lankan expatriate workers for Al Robert Cables, a power generation factory in Baghdad, Iraq, are still waiting to return to Sri Lanka. They have faced untold suffering after they were stranded in Iraq with the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. These people, whose lives have gone from bad to worse, spoke to us about the adversities that they faced on foreign soil.
कंटेनर पेट्टी වල තමයි කට්ටිය ඉන්නේ මීටර් 20ක් විතර වැඩපළට තියෙන වැඩපළට එකයි යන්න ආයේ පෑ 12කට පස්සේ අපිව මේකට ගෙනත් දානවා මේ මං ඉන්න කාමරේ මං ඉන්න රූම් එක මේ බලන්න මේක ඇතුලේ කැමරා දාලා මෙහෙම තමයි අපි ඉන්නේ මේ රටේ එළියක් ගැන දන්නේ නැහැ අපි බලන් ඉන්නේ මාස 7ක ඉඳන්.
We've been waiting here for 7 months. We received the approval from the government twice. However, the embassy told us that our company had not made the necessary arrangement.
embassy එකේ අපිට ඉන්ෆෝම් කරේ.
මගේ වයිෆ් නැති වුණා ජූලයි 1 වෙනිදා.
My wife passed away on the 1st of July last year. Since then, I have been requesting the embassy to make arrangements to send me back. Regardless of receiving the approval twice, I was not able to leave. We request an authorized official in Sri Lanka to look into this and bring us back to our motherland as soon as possible.
According to the Ministry of Foreign Relations, another 68,000 Sri Lankans stranded overseas are waiting to return to Sri Lanka. A statement issued by the Secretary to the Foreign Ministry, Admiral Professor Jayanath Kolmage, said that arrangements have been made to continue the repatriation of Sri Lankans. As of February last year, 64,470 Sri Lankans from 137 countries had arrived in the country. The Foreign Relations Ministry further said that 1,400 Sri Lankans will be flown to Sri Lanka from Chennai, Melbourne, Kuwait, Doha, Toronto, Cyprus and Dubai from yesterday to Saturday the 9th. According to the report of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, expatriate workers had contributed more than $5.6 billion by October last year, despite many of them being adversely affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Against such a backdrop, shouldn't more priority be given to bring Sri Lankan expatriates stranded overseas back to their motherland?
The Sri Lankan Medical Association announced that based on the current available scientific information, the Council of the SLMA is of the view that burial of COVID-19 dead bodies could be permitted in Sri Lanka.
The Sri Lanka Medical Association says that based on the current available scientific information, there is no possibility for the COVID-19 virus to spread through a dead body. The Sri Lanka Medical Association issued the statement based on a consensus reached at a discussion held on the 31st of December. The Sri Lanka Medical Association has presented several recommendations based on key scientific data that is available at the moment. The recommendations are: COVID-19 infection occurs only through the respiratory route. There are no reported infections through any other routes, including the gastrointestinal portal. The virus itself can thrive only inside a living cell. As such, it is unlikely that it could remain infectious within a dead body for any significant period of time. A positive PCR found post-mortem does not necessarily mean that the dead body is infectious. Contamination of water supply by sewage, consisting of excretions and secretions of COVID-19 infected patients, could be much worse than any possible contamination from buried corpses. Although there are a few instances reported where viral particles have been isolated from groundwater, there are no reports of them being infective. There are no records of such infection even with older viruses like influenza and SARS, which have been studied in much greater detail. The reported planned exhumation and cremation of a large number of minks culled in Denmark was not due to any possible contamination of water resources by the virus. It was due to a large amount of nitrogenous waste from these decomposing minks carcasses, contaminating the nearby water sources and polluting the environment. Even in the case of severe waterborne diseases like cholera, the burial of corpses was one of the practices of disposal of infected dead bodies.
A wild elephant attack claimed the life of a youth in Polonnaruwa today.
පව් අප්පා කාටද මේවා කියන්නේ අපි ඉතින්
මේව පන්නගෙන ආයේ මේ කොල්ල කෑ ගහගෙන තව කොහොම දිව්වා මෙතෙන් මේ කියන්නේ පයින් ගහපාර මේකෙන්.
The victim, who met this tragic fate today, was identified as 36-year-old DP Indika Roshan. He had been attacked a kilometer away from his residence while returning after watching over his crops the previous night. The wild elephant had damaged crops in the Sirikaduraya area the previous day.
අපිට විදුලි වටක් දෙන්නේ නැහැ විදුලි වටක් ගැහුවා ගොවි සංවිධානයෙන් වියදම් කරලා ඒකට නියම කරන්ට් එක දුන්නේ නැහැ විදුලි වැට ගෙදර ගැහුවා ඊට පස්සේ ඒකත් විනාශ කරා පොළ වෙලා ඉන්නවා ගමේ කීප දෙනෙක් අලි මේ වල්ලාලි මේ පහර දීමේ ඒ වගේම ජීවිත හානි කීපයක්ම සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙනවා අපිට මේ ගම්බිම් දාලා යන්න සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙනවා.
A herd of elephants that roam in the vicinity of the Mahavali river storm into surrounding villages at night in search of food. Attempts made by villagers to chase away elephants that had encroached the Palamhandia village in Minipe last evening had proved futile. Villagers then informed the wildlife officers in the area about the matter.
රාජනීය ඔෆිස් එකේ නේද? ඔව්. මේ බලන්නකො මේ දැන් අලි ගෙවල් දොරකොඩ ළඟට ඇවිල්ලා දොරකොඩේ තියෙන මේ පොල් ගස් සුද්ධ කරන් කනවා. ඉතින් දැන් 7 ඉඳලා කතා කරන ඔබතුමාලාට බලන්නකො.
මහත්තයා දැන් ඔබතුමා මේකට කතා කරන්නේ. ඔව්. මේකින් කරන්නේ පණවිඩ දෙන එක. අපි පණවිඩ ටික යොමු කරලා තියෙන ඉතින්. ඒ හින්දානේ නාර ඉලදාරි 4-5 දෙනා ඉන්න මහත්තයා. ඒ හින්දා දෙක වාහනේ තියෙන්නේ නැත්නම් උතරත් දෙවියන් ප්‍රශ්නත් ඇතිනේ.
Wild elephants had continued to destroy several cultivations in the village that night.
මම 1992කට කතා කරා. පස්සේ විස්තර අහගෙන තැන විතරක් අහගෙන නම විතරක් ලියාගත්තා. මේ වෙනකන්වත් කවුරුත් ආවේ නැහැ. 119 ගහුවා කිසිම ෆෝන් එක ආන්සර් කරේවත් නැහැ.
ඇමති කෙනෙක් හිටියා වුණාට නිලධාරි කණ්ඩායමක් හිටියා වුණාට පඩි ගත්තා වුණාට මේ වැඩේ හරියට කරගන්න බෑ. අලින්ට මේ තැන දීලා මිනිස්සුන්ට කැලෑවදින්න වෙලා තියෙනවා. Meanwhile, commencing work on the Veerakatiya Madamulana Kapugamthota Road, Minister of Irrigation Chamal Rajapaksa expressed views regarding the human-elephant conflict.
We hope to draw attention to the management of elephants. When given to the Wildlife or Forest Conservation Department, we can't even obtain sand. People can't go out for daily needs. They try to claim it. If we do this with the support of the people, then people will feel that they belong and go in for a program that helps to protect the animals without anyone claiming ownership. This will also help to resolve the issues with officials and find a solution to the human-elephant conflict. This is what we hope to do in the Surya Veva and Hambantota Mahavali zones. We will not hand it over to the Wildlife Department and stop everyone from entering it.
Wildlife officers yesterday captured a leopard that had been acting violently in the Panama area recently. The recent spate of leopard attacks in the area had killed one and left another injured.
Wildlife officers had launched an operation running across several days to capture the leopard that had been roaming the area. The operation came to a close approximately at 7:15 p.m. yesterday. Wildlife officers said that the leopard had been released into a forest 50 kilometers away from the village as it faces a threat of being attacked by residents. According to the Wildlife Department, the leopard, aged 10, had shown a tendency of preying on easy targets in the village during the last few days. It added that human activities could have adversely impacted the behavior of the leopard. Wildlife officers observed that the carcasses of cattle and slices of meat had been dumped in a forest near the village and that watch huts at paddy fields had not been built at elevated levels. There is a cultivation plot in the area in which the attack had taken place. Elephant footprints can be seen at the location. But we are happy that we can engage in farming peacefully now that the leopard has been captured. There might be several leopards. We don't know whether the leopard that attacked the farmer has been captured.
We are requesting authorities to take steps to prevent these incidents from taking place in the future. On the 1st of this month, the leopard had attacked a villager who had visited the paddy field to inspect the condition of an electric fence. He is currently receiving treatment at the Ampara General Hospital. On the 30th of last month, the remains of a person had been recovered in the Kudumbigal area in Ampara. Police said that the leopard had attacked the farmer in his paddy field. The incident prompted a mob to attack the wildlife office in Panama. 5 suspects were arrested over the incident while special task force officers were deployed for additional security in the area. We will not concede that the threat posed by leopards came to an end last evening. We do not know whether there is only one leopard or whether there are several others. Therefore, we will remain cautious about the situation. Villagers say that it is not the violent leopard that had been captured. Therefore, we will deploy mechanisms to trap the leopard.
An ancient assembly hall and more than 30 trees at the Rajapahilla Park in Kurunegala have been destroyed as part of a development project. A group of public representatives and members of environmental organizations inspected the location today.
An ancient assembly hall and several massive trees at the Rajapahilla Park have been destroyed as part of a development project taking place at the location. In the wake of the destruction, Samagi Jana Balawegaya parliamentarian Nalin Bandara, who represents the Kurunegala district, visited the location today.
පාක් එකක් කියන එක ගස්නේ තියෙන්න ඕනේ. ගස් ටික හදලා ගස් ටික කපලා හදලා පාක් කොහෙද හදන්නේ ලෝකේ. තියෙන ගස් ආරක්ෂා වෙන්න එක පාක් හදන්නේ නෙවෙයි. එතන මේ ලොකු ගස් නැහැ කියලා ලොකු ගස් දෙක තුනක් කියන්නේ බොරු තමයි. මෙතන බලු බැලමට 1යි 2යි 3යි 4යි 5යි 6යි. අතන තියෙනවා 3 4 7යි 8යි. ලොකු ගස්ම තියෙනවා 10ක් 15ක් විතර වෙනවා. එතන මේ පැහැදිලිවම තියෙනවා විශාල දව ප්‍රමාණයක් ගස් ගණනාවක් කපලා ඉවත් කරපුවා. ඉතින් මේගොල්ලෝ ලොකු ගස් 3යි 4යි කියලා කියනවා මේක පට්ටපල් බොරුවක්. මෙතන බලපුවම පේනවා මේ කොහොම වටිනා මේ කොස් කොක්කුල. ඒකේ කොස් කඳා. කොස් ගස් කපන්න බෑ එහෙම. ඒ වගේම මැද්දේ පිහිටි ගොඩනැගිල්ල.
At first glance, one can observe that the building located at the center of the park is more than a century old. The appearance of the building tells the tale. But in which country are they developing parks by cutting off trees? I do not know why the ministers, government parliamentarians, responsible officials, municipal councillors and the urban development authority is not taking any action in this regard. We do not even have the slightest faith on the municipal council. We witnessed how an ancient king's court had been demolished in the area. They are taking over the valuable land in this area.
අද මේ නගරේ වටිනා කියන ඉඩම් වලට තට්ටුව දීගෙන යන්නේ.
The Kurunegala mayor had said that he would hold a media briefing and present facts on the matter. However, he was not available for a comment.
At a media briefing held today, SJB parliamentarian Dr. Harsh De Silva says that there is a plan to sell off land near expressway entry points.
Expressway 1, Expressway 2.
The cabinet has already approved a company for privatization of all expressways, the Expressway 1, Expressway 2, Central Expressway and the Expressway to Mattala. This cannot be done only with the toll fee. Then what happens? All of them have got together to sell off the land near entry points. If not, they will create new entry points to do this. So not only the expressways, the land that this company will sell will provide investment opportunities. Now the Colombo-Mattal Expressway is complete. So how can anyone invest in an already completed venture? They are now going to sell off the land. Not only the roads, they are also selling off the land near entry and exit points. Then they will build apartment complexes and other things because the lands near the exit and entry points are valuable. This is how they are hoping to increase the government income in the year 2021.
මේ 2021 අවුරුද්දේ රාජ්‍ය ආදායම වැඩි කරගන්න.
Quoting the final report of the Committee of Inquiry that probed the Maharepression unrest, The Sunday Times reported that the committee has highlighted the need for a police investigation to determine if prison officers performed their duties properly during the incident or if they had used excessive force. In addition, the committee has also recommended that the government to provide compensation for the 11 inmates who were killed.
The 5-member committee headed by retired High Court Judge Kusala Sarojini Veerawardena has recommended that charges be brought against any prisoners found to have been involved in the destruction of prison property, arson and causing injuries to others. According to the report on the Sunday Times, the committee has further recommended that the Attorney General be tasked with initiating legal action once the Criminal Investigation Department's probe into the incident is concluded. According to the report, the committee has submitted its recommendations under 3 sections in the final report, which runs into 61 pages, including 31 documents and evidence given by 40 witnesses. According to the report, it was discovered that frustration over the lack of basic facilities for prisoners, coupled with the rapid spread of the COVID-19 pandemic among the prison population, had led to the unrest. The prisoners were frustrated as they had repeatedly requested PCR tests, but the process had been slow. According to the report on Sunday Times, however, the committee has also found that some prison inmates had also acted with deliberate intent to escalate the incident into violence. The number of inmates at the Mahara prison at the time of the incident stood at 2,793, 3 times its capacity. A total of 2,152 of these were suspects who were in remand custody for narcotics-related offences. Even at full capacity, 502 prison officers should be on duty to manage the prison population. At the time of the incident, however, when the prison was bursting with more than triple its capacity, just 278 officers were assigned to the Mahara prison owing to long-standing staff shortages. The report has noticed that the prison administration had failed to fill the existing vacancies among officers in a way that enabled functions at the prison to be conducted satisfactorily. The committee further discovered that the quality of food served to inmates had also deteriorated, and there were food shortages among the prisoners, given that not enough officers were present to oversee the cooking and distribution of food. Given this situation, the stronger prisoners had taken much of the food and left weaker prisoners with very little. According to the report, some prisoners who had formed themselves into gangs had also taken over certain parts of the prison prior to the incident on the 29th of November, with outnumbered prison officers forced to leave those sections in the hands of the inmates. Another factor that contributed to the unrest was that prison authorities had kept suspects who had been granted bail by courts for a further 2 weeks in prison as a form of quarantine, citing advice from health authorities that prisoners should not be released immediately for fear they might have contracted COVID-19. The committee had noted that this action of forcibly keeping suspects in prison even after they had been released by courts amounts to a violation of their human rights. When we contacted Justice Minister President's Counsel Ali Sabri to confirm the content of the report published on the Sunday Times, he responded saying no clarifications on the report can be made until it is presented to the Cabinet of Ministers tomorrow. The Wattala magistrate Buddhika Sri Ragala had previously ruled that the 8 inmates who were killed had died as a result of a shooting. When the case had been taken up at the Wattala Magistrates Court last Wednesday, Attorney-at-Law Senaka Pereira, who appeared for the aggrieved party, told court that many parties had claimed that the incident at the Mahara prison was a conspiracy. He mentioned the names of government ministers Vimal Veeravansa and Jayantha Samaravira, who had made such allegations, and requested the magistrate to order that their statements be recorded. The magistrate later ordered police to investigate into the matter.
Also in local news, government parliamentarian Wijayadasa Rajapaksa has said he will table a bill in parliament to amend asset declaration laws this month.
The amended legislation will make it compulsory for the President, Speaker, Ministers, Deputy Ministers and Sri Lankan envoys to declare their assets and liabilities annually. Other inclusions are members of commissions, provincial councils, local authorities and employees at Sri Lankan foreign missions. The chairmen, directors and employees of companies in which the state holds more than 25% of shares will also be subjected to the regulation. The fine for failing to make the declaration that has remained at 1,000 rupees will be increased to 100,000 rupees for the first time since 1975. Under the existing laws, parliamentarians, judges and election candidates are among the individuals required to make their declarations. The assets and liabilities of the wife and children of these individuals should also be declared.
An aircraft belonging to CGG Aviation Canada that is able to explore geological interior through high technology has landed at the Bandaranaike International Airport.
When news first inquired the Additional Director General of the Civil Aviation Authority of Sri Lanka, P.A. Jayakantha, he said that the aircraft had landed in the country on the 10th of November 2020. According to the Civil Aviation Authority, the purpose of the landing is to rest the crew on board. Adding further, the Additional Director General of the Civil Aviation Authority of Sri Lanka, P.A. Jayakantha, told News First that the aircraft left the country to the Maldives on the 11th of November 2020. CGG Aviation Canada has been engaging in geological surveying for more than 85 years. CGG aircraft use sophisticated technology for geological surveying. These aircraft have the capability of exploring land, sea, deep sea and oceanic systems while being in the air. CGG Aviation Canada also has the world's largest commercially available GravMag database, which includes data pertaining to gravity and magnetic force fields.
A number of suspicious aircraft had landed in Sri Lanka for emergency purposes. The McDonnell Douglas 11 aircraft belonging to the Western Global Airline, a cargo carrier, reached the Bandaranaike International Airport. An aircraft belonging to the controversial Western Global Airline of the US arrives at the BIA. On numerous other occasions, suspicious aircraft in the same manner has entered the Sri Lankan airspace. Why did this aircraft belonging to CGG Aviation Canada arrive on the island on the 10th of November last year?
Roshan Vijayasundara from the Sri Lanka Air Force swam a trial run in the deep sea in his preparation to set a new Guinness World Record.
Roshan Vijayasundara is preparing to set a new Guinness World Record on the 2nd of March. He is preparing to swim from Mannar to Rameshwaran and back. He hopes to break a world record that was set in the year 1971. Roshan trained in the deep seas today to his attempt to set the new record. During his training, he was joined by 2 students from Sujata Balika Vidyalaya and Matara Rahula Vidyalaya. According to our correspondent, the 2 students had swum a distance of 15 kilometers.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Primetime News. For the News First team, I'm Arundhati Mudanayake, together with our interpreter this evening, Tharaka Gabriel. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.